Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum. Dear brothers and sisters, I want to take a few minutes to look at year 2001. We discussed some of it before in relations to establishing a masjid, me writing the imam and the imam responding, etc. And I think we had got to this part of 2001, the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. And but we didn't elaborate on that. So here is a Muslim journal from that 2001 when that attack took place. And, you know, the impact that it had on all Muslims, the impact on the world. And when they were identified as Muslims that flew the plane into the Twin Towers, and, you know, a lot of backlash, right? Graffiti, etc., at masjids, and threats, and etc., and death even against Muslims. It was a tough time. And since this is marks the 20 years after that, just want to look at some things that happened in that 2001 leading up to this within our community, and then even something of an international flavor that happened in relations to myself, but on a bigger way for our community. So I'm not going to stay here right now. We're just going to give some backdrop again on some of the things that took place in 2001. Okay. So our main objective is to show a documentary that was done from the Netherlands, a portrait of myself as a representation of the African-American Muslims in light of this terrorist attack. Here, as we can see, the Muslim Journal and the condolences from the Muslim Journal. We'll get back to this in Imam Muhammad's statement. So we're going to go back a little bit with something that we talked about already at the beginning of 2001. Now, as I've shown before, briefly, this letter here that I had sent to Imam Muhammad concerning the possibility of establishing a masjid after hearing certain statements the Imam had made in my effort to try to help him. And we showed this before, so I don't really have to spend a lot of time on it other than saying it was January the 10th, 2001. And we say, Assalamu alaikum, dear Imam W.D. Muhammad. And you have this, and it say, I pray that this brief letter will find you in the best of health and spirit. The purpose of this letter to inform you that I'm considering establishing an Islamic center or masjid in the Newark area. Brother Imam, I love and respect you. I want to do all that I can to help you and your mission. I don't want to do anything to interfere with your plans or strategies for Newark. That is why I'm informing you of my thinking. I would love to have the opportunity to discuss this with you soon. May Allah bless you and your family. And, you know, I've shown this before. And then we showed Imam Muhammad's response with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, from Imam Muhammad to Imam Mustafa El-Amin, January 29th, 2001. Assalamu alaikum. Matters are judged by intentions. Our Prophet Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. Dear brother Mustafa El-Amin, in my opinion, most big cities need 5 or more masjids. We are asking my daughter, appointment secretary Bakira, to contact you and arrange a time suitable for both of us to have a meeting you requested, the meeting you requested. Your brother in faith, Imam W.D. Muhammad. So this is the beginning somewhat of 2001. But I do have to say this, that before that, when I said in response to certain things that was going on in an effort to help the Imam, I sent him this letter thinking about possibly opening a masjid, and that was his response. But what I didn't elaborate on is even before we met, that in response to certain things in an effort to help, I called some meetings. One was before we met and after I sent this letter, which you can see, saluting African American History Month. El-Amin Production presents a public lecture by Imam Mustafa El-Amin, author and editor. I'm not over masjid at this point. Topic: the time has arrived, the need for new leadership. Sunday, February 25th, 2001, 1 p.m. sharp, location Wise Cultural Center, 6270 Howard Street, Irvington, New Jersey. So we gave that talk, and that even came up a little bit in our meeting with what I did have with the Imam, myself, and Imam Ali Muslim of Masjid Muhammad in Newark, 257 South Orange Avenue. And we met March 11, 2001, after Imam gave a lecture at, I believe it's, I had it before, Prince George, I believe, Community College in Maryland. And after that lecture, we drove into Baltimore, Maryland, where myself and the Imam, Imam Muhammad, Imam Ali Muslim, and about 20 other Imams, we drove from that place where he did the public address to Baltimore, Maryland, and we ate at the International House of Pancakes. And I left this out before. It's interesting to say anyway, a little humorous. Imam Muhammad ordered strawberry pancakes. And Imam Ali Muslim, he's a law soldier to the wire. We thank Allah and pray Allah will have mercy on him and forgive him his sins and grant him paradise, as well as the Imam, of course. Imam Muhammad ordered the strawberry pancakes. Ali Muslim ordered strawberry pancakes. I'm not even sure if he really liked strawberry pancakes. And I ordered what I usually do, the blueberry pancakes. And Imam Muhammad said, yeah, I really like blueberry. I usually get the blueberry. And of course, I say, would you like to have mine? Some of mine. He said, no. So, you know, in that, and then we had our discussion about me opening a masjid, and I mentioned it before. The Imam say start small, etc., and go after new people. Now, what he said to Imam Ali Muslim and myself, he said, Muhammad the Prophet companions, may the prayers and peace be upon the Prophet, sallam. He said his companions, they differed with each other, but they differed with love. They differed in public, and they differed with love. And he told both of us that we don't have to agree, we can differ with each other. He said, but differ with love. He said, the problem with the two of you is you are FOI. You are fruit of Islam. He said, but you need to take the F and the O out and just have the I, Islam, peace. He said, so I want y'all to have peace. He said, you can differ, but if your different is going to hurt the spirit of the community, then I'm not going to come for neither one of you. Okay, he said that to us. Now, I didn't have a masjid then. I wasn't a masjid, and he hadn't come for me, and he hadn't come to the masjid. So I think that really rung strong with my good brother, Imam Ali Muslim. But from that point on, our relationship, it was good anyway, even if most might not have known it, but it got even better. An interesting thing, from Baltimore to Newark, we drove in my little Chevy all the way back. Imam Ali Muslim had rode the train, and then we rode back together and talked about different things. So this is 2001. And so, as we pointed out later, we didn't go open a masjid until 2 years later, 2003. But I'm trying to get to a point with this 911 that happened, all of this in 2001. You know, each year you have outstanding things, and at the end of the year, it's good to reflect on them and to review them. And so looking at this here that impacted on our community, and we do that now, especially in this pandemic. You find some time at the end of the year or some point to reflect on your progress and other things. And so here we're still looking at 2001. Inshallah, we'll share some information with you with 2000 that's very important, that even relates to 2001 at another time. And then also 2004 and very, very, very important year, 2004, as it impacted on our community, our leader, Imam Muhammad, and all of us. And in 2005, I've shown you that letter that I sent, etc. But right now, I just want to move a little quickly here. So we see that this meeting took place on March 11th, 2001, okay, concerning, as we read the letter, opening a masjid, and that in the most big cities, you need 5 or more, okay? So now, as I said before, after that meeting, and the Imam said, start small. I didn't run out and open a masjid. He said, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll know when to do that. So after that, we continued. And as you saw, I did part 1 of A Time Has Arrived, Need for New Leadership. Well, after that meeting in March, I immediately jumped on it again in April at Rutgers this time, right? Public lecture. The time has arrived. The need for new leadership. What are we referring to? And we'll look at that when we look at 2000. That I had been put on along with others, the representative body. And we saw some things that was going on. And as you heard the tape before, was one thing that motivated me to even try to help by establishing a masjid or something. Some things the Imam was saying about people working against him, etc., and how he needed us to trust him. So anyway, moving forward, we went on and we did this and other things. We went on to do what we had to do. The community continues. And then, of course, then we get to our national convention. For one, you see what the community was called. The Muslim American Society. It was changed several times, right? At the beginning, it was the World Community of Islam, the Body Christ, etc. But here it was, and then it was the AMM, right? And you remember I'm moving kind of fast. But anyway, September, end of August, we have our national convention, right? This is the year 2001, okay? We cannot stop now. All kind of progress was being made for our community and for Islam. But even with these terrorist things that was going on all the time, the Imam was saying to our brothers in the Middle East and other places, you have to condemn that stuff. That's not the way to go, and it came forth from a certain mindset that led to 911, right? Which as a result had a major impact on all of us in America, right? And throughout the world, a lot of tension, a lot of stress, right? But at the same time, it brought about some unity, people standing up for the Muslims. I mean, even the President Bush at that time, even though we know it resulted in the Iraq war and things about mass destruction that didn't exist. But he said Muslims are peaceful people, etc. That big event, you brothers know more than me, probably from New York. It's a while ago. I think it was either Yankee Stadium or one of the big stadiums where Oprah Winfrey and everybody, along with the Muslims, was talking about peace. So here, right after our convention, which is usually September, end of August, what happens, right? 2001, to be noted. 20 years ago, exactly. Now, think back for a moment, brothers and sisters. 20 years ago, and we know they have a memorial every year, lost 3,000 people, etc. Now imagine and reflect on where you was at right after our positive, powerful, productive convention, right? Universal teachings of Muhammad the Prophet ﷺ, embracing all human beings, right? Beautiful leadership of Imam Muhammad. This happens. And as I recall, the Imam said on this day, I think he was heading to Washington. And when this happened, he said it affected him in such a way that he just went like, his mind was just blank. And all of us, if you reflect on what happened, I know I was teaching in school when that happened. And some of my students came and said they saw a plane crash into the World Trade Center, and I didn't believe them. But anyway, just want to move on because it's really about a documentary that was done, that was international, okay, that came from the Netherlands. But anyway, here was Imam Muhammad's statement, right? He said, we are shocked and dismayed. And he said, Muslims, please stay calm, right? And be careful and take security. And even ask the sisters and their hairdress to adjust it a certain way. He said, Muslims, please stay calm and remain in your good senses. We need prayers right now. He said, people who do terrorist acts are not in their good Muslim behavior. He went on to say, we should ask ourselves, would Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, peace be upon him, kill innocent men, women, and children? He said, even if a Muslim becomes a terrorist, his answer would be no. He said, to this question, would Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, kill the innocent? Okay, so we're aware of this here, and it's 20 years. So in the midst of all that happened in 9/11, in the midst of that, I received a communication from a producer in the Netherlands. Now, we have been told that this community had been studied and watched from around the world, and they requested to do a portrait of an African-American Muslim in light of 9/11. And when I don't know how they got in touch with me, how they found out. We wasn't doing Facebook then, but they said because I was once a Christian, then in the nation, and then became a follower of Imam Muhammad, that I would fit their what they wanted to look at as representing the Muslim community. Of course, I informed Imam Muhammad of this, and for time's sake, I'm just showing this here because I was working in the school system. They wanted to follow the school system, your job, wherever you worked, etc. A portrait and how the average African-American Muslim lives. And so, you know, this had to be sent to my school. And as you can see, I won't read all of it because time, but it say, we hereby respectfully ask permission to film Mr. Mustafa El-Amin in his work environment. They had to come to the Newark public school system and they had to get permission, especially in light of the sensitivity of all that was going on with the, as a result of 9/11. This is for a portrait of Mr. El-Amin, which will be broadcast at the end of November on Channel 1, the Netherlands, by Icon, the Interchurch Broadcasting Company of the Netherlands. The portrait film of Mr. El-Amin will be 25 minutes long. And they spent 4 days with me, and you see it's going to be 24 minutes, right? Through our portrait of Mr. El-Amin, we want to tell the Dutch, they speak Dutch, And so when you hear the video, you'll hear Dutch, but they gave me the translations. Just like anything else, if it's in French or Spanish or Arabic, you get the translation. And they wanted to show this in the Netherlands to the Dutch audience, more about African-American Muslims, their community, beliefs, worldviews. We believe this is an important story to tell, especially because it has not received much attention in the media in Europe, and we feel that in Mr. El-Amin, we have found a very articulate and powerful representative of the community of African American Muslims. To round out the portrait, it is important that we show him in all of his daily activities, including his work at the school. Concretely, this would mean that we would like to follow him, and they did, for a few hours at the school as he goes about work. We will not need lights. This is what they're saying to the school. We will not need lights. There will be a cameraman, sound person, and 1 or 2 producers. We would like to do this beginning Monday, November 12th. And you can see, so this is international. Okay, this is taken outside. Now, what I want to say before we show that is, of course, we did this. We communicated with Imam Muhammad. Okay, this is one of the letters that I sent to Imam Muhammad concerning this. Okay, and this is probably going to be a 2-part because of the time on YouTube. Imam Mustafa El-Amin, and if you can see this, we said, Assalamu alaikum, dear Imam W.D. Muhammad, I pray that this letter finds you in the best of health and spirit, enjoying the blessed month of Ramadan. The purpose of this letter is to inform you of a documentary that is being completed in the Newark area concerning African American Muslims. Okay, it is to be shown in Europe, in Holland. The broadcasting company is called Icon. Okay, the Inner Church Broadcasting Company of the Netherlands. It is closely connected with the Dutch Council of Churches. And you can see the rest of this. I guess I can. The way this came about, this is important, is that I was contacted, as I was saying, the way this came about is that I was contacted by a film producer from Sweden, who now lives in New York, named Tana Rose. She indicated that they had read an article on the internet in which I was mentioned several times and mentioned several times in part of my background. Yes, and part of my background was also mentioned. I was asked if I would allow them to film a portrait of my daily life as an African American Muslim for about 4 days to use as a symbol of the average African American Muslims. I eventually agreed. The documentary will be about 30 minutes and will be shown on Channel 1 in the Netherlands on November 27th, 2001 at prime time. About 2 weeks after that, after it is aired, I will be given several copies of the video. I will be sure to send you a copy. As to Imam Muhammad, and then after I received it, I sent to him on the 28th a copy of the video with this letter here. Okay, I won't read it for time's sake, and this is probably going to be part 1 and part 2. My main thing is to show you this video, which you have seen before, but with this background, maybe put it in some kind of perspective. Okay, now, to say a little bit about the video, many people saw Minister Farrakhan as the spokesman for African American, the leader for African American Muslims. you know, with the Million Man March and all the media attention and traveling the world. So that's important too. And why I went on with it is I saw it as a good chance for Dawah. Not only that, I didn't know what the end product was, but also to give a perspective of African-American Muslims. And the other thing, it was very touchy though, because in light of the World Trade Center and the attention we was getting, I know that even going to my mother, she was hesitant. And when they interviewed her before they even did the tape, she really came at him. Why are you interviewing my son now? You wasn't interested in him before that, you know, with this World Trade Center. What are you all up to? So, you know, I finally convinced her to go on with it. So it'll be part 1 and part 2. So now we're going to turn our attention to the video. You'll see it will have something of Nation of Islam, some Christian stuff, most certainly voice of our community for sure. But again, from 4 days, it's now down to about 25 minutes. So we'll show, I guess you'll see about 10 minutes on this first part 1 and then part 2. But that's what it was building up to in 2001. Okay, some events that took place. Oh, by the way, as I said before, a percentage of it will be in Dutch, but they sent me the translation. Most of it will be in English. You'll hear me speaking, and we're going to show it now. But here's the translation, and maybe at the end of it we can show this. But this is what will be being said in Dutch. Okay. So when it opens, it is the Muslim who believes in America. And they'll say history teacher Mustafa El-Amin, Muslim proud of America. Once held extremist views, hating America and seeing whites as the devil. His metamorphosis is the unknown story of 2 million African-American Muslims. We'll leave it here and try to go to the video, and that'll only probably be a few minutes before we have to do part 2.
Kills our babies, shoots us down. You become an instrument of terror.
Peace. Assalamu alaikum.
If you want order, Islam's the way. It's a new change your mind. What you do.
I hope we benefit from this in some way. I love this music with it. This is from the Netherlands.
Geschiedenisleraar Mustafa El-Amin, gelovig moslim, trots op Amerika, was eens een extremist die Amerika haatte en de blanken als de duivel zag. Zijn metamorfose is het onbekende verhaal van 2 miljoen zwarte moslims in Amerika.
So what he just said, a history teacher, what I read to you, and Mustafa lives in Newark, New Jersey, approximately a half hour from New York.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Hayya Salah, Hayya Salah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
This is November 2001, 20 years ago. This is done in Europe by Europeans.
Mustafa El-Amin woont in Newark, New Jersey. Een overwegend zwarte stad, een half uur rijden van New York.
Darkness no longer The time has come.
They said Mustafa El-Amin lives in Newark, New Jersey, approximately a half an hour from New York.
Daddies aren't there where you ought to be. You're standing on corners, shooting each other, brothers, please.
These are like the projects I grew up in during the 1967 racial riots in Newark. I'm about 9 or 10 years old. And the frightful thing was on one of these days, we hear a bang on the door while the bullets are flying. Boom, boom, boom. They kicked the door open. And I remember 2 National Guard, actually 3 National Guardmen. They were white Americans. And they kicked the door and they had what I understood to be machine guns, you know, or Uzis. In later years, when I heard the teachings of the Nation of Islam about white people being devils, I'm almost 100% convinced that this flashed into my mind in terms of white men kicking our door down, pointing machine guns at my family, my mother, and all of these things, and then connecting it to that.
You've been living so hard, day by day. It's time to make a change, and Islam's the way. If you want order, Islam's the way. It's a new day. Change your mind, what you do and say. A new world order.
This place here is Masjid Muhammad. This was temple number 25. This is where the majority of us came through during the days of the Nation of Islam. I was 16 years old when I joined and received my X. Whatever your last name was, if my name was Robert King, your last name would be dropped and you would be given an X. You did not know your true name that you had before you was brought to America, that you had in Africa. So King or Jones or Smith was incorrect, so it was crossed out.
But it was the master's name.
Because it was the slave master's name, but you could keep your first name because that was your given name by your mother. I legally changed my name around 1983 or so. And El-Amin, which means truthful and honest. When I saw that name, I said, that seems like something I would want to be. And Mustafa means the chosen one. And I felt that I was chosen to begin